Welcome back to Taddy's Restorations, everybody. If you're new here, please go back and check out the older videos. The property was very much abandoned when I first purchased the property 6 months ago. You'll be able to see how far it's come in that time. Please remember, like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Leave a comment, tell me what you think of the progress. Let's go and check out what's been happening. So today's little mission was to resurrect the outdoor water system. Sorry about the goat making a bit of noise in the wind. So the first job was to clean some of the reeds out around the water pickup, pull that out of the dam and clean the end of it up. Come over here to the pump shed and I pulled the pump out, pulled it all apart, cleaned it out, reinstalled it, primed it, and worked out how the power was connected to this and turned it on, which we'll do now. As you could hear, the pump is operating. The outdoor taps up here. Yes, hello Violet. And we have outdoor water there. Walk up towards the house. There's another tap just up here. So I assume the water line must run from the pump shed down there, up here, up along the fence line to this tap here. So this one here is operating. All along the fence line. Up to this tap here, and there's a gate valve there that fills the tank, but unfortunately I think the tank is leaking. I've put a new washer in that tap. A little bit of a drip, it's a bit hard to see, a little bit of a drip just there, and come into the little pump shed laundry, old laundry, and I had all this pulled apart because the pump on the right's the one that operates the house, and that's fed from the water tank, the big poly water tank, which is a separate system. But this little pump on the left is fed from up there, comes down into it and back out. Now this used to have a filter system, and I pulled the filter system out and put on the house water system, which is underneath the tank stand, because eventually these pumps will be moved out of this building. So I've just jerry-rigged out of bits that I had this little contraption. Don't really need a gate valve there, but I needed a female fitting, and the gate valve worked for that. That goes into there, it goes all the way along here. There's another gate valve there, so that isolates water running outside to these laundry taps. The tap just out the other side of the wall there, and then there's a T-piece just there that there is another gate valve on up there that's meant to fill the toilet, but it seems the system on that toilet is no good, which doesn't surprise me. Moving back outside, that water system runs out to here to this tap and then into old galvanised pipe. So I've discovered that this galvanised pipe is the pipe that feeds the sink in the shed, and unfortunately that galvanised pipe is leaking. So it was bubbling up out of this hole in the ground just here, and it probably was leaking for quite some time before it was actually isolated, given the little bit of a rust stain that's there. But thankfully, with that isolated, there's still a tap over here that must be fed off that main line. This one here must be fed off the main line from down near the dam, which is good. At least I've got water to be able to wash a car off, water the garden, whatnot. So I don't really need water in the shed just at the moment. So I think I can, it would just be handy to have this system operating. Sorry about the wind. So I think I can isolate that galvanised pipe, that steel pipe that runs into the ground there, that feeds the shed, and have a closed system. Coming into summer now, I'm quite rural. It would be nice to find out where this tank is leaking, get it filled up, so at least I've got a little bit of backup water, even though the dam water is probably not the nicest water. I certainly probably wouldn't use it for the house, but it'd be nice to have garden water and water outside, and a little bit of backup water just for bushfire risk. And because it's up on the stand, you've got a little bit of head, so you've got a little bit of pressure in there, so if power goes down you've still got some sort of water backup. That's where I'm at. I'll have to put some washers in this tap, it's leaking. But I'm pretty stoked that I now have outside water after 6 months of wondering whether it would be resurrectable or not. So I fixed the leaking tap and isolated everything. It seems to have built up pressure and kicked off. So fingers crossed there are no other leaks within the line, which is quite surprising. So I fixed the brass tap that was leaking, and now this other irrigation plastic thing is leaking. I'll isolate it again, and I might just pull that out. Unfortunately, the poly pipe running into that fitting is imperial size, so I didn't have any fittings to be able to bypass this little filter setup. So I pulled the little tap apart, and it's missing an O-ring in here. So I'll have a look in my O-ring kit and see if I can resurrect it. Back down the pump shed again, we'll flick it on and make sure that other tap isn't leaking. Pump's kicked off, that's a good sign. And we seem to be leak free. So that's got the water system buttoned up for today. The only thing that I've got left now to do is to isolate that shed pipe, and I have an operational outside water system. The little water leak that was coming from the tank seems to have stopped. I reckon the rubber O-ring there on the fitting might have just been a bit dry. Now it's got some water around it, it's taken up and stopped leaking. I fill this tank up, hopefully it doesn't spring any more leaks. Well, I think the tank's full. Better go turn the pump off. So I've been on Facebook Marketplace again, which is a bad idea for me, but I have been keeping my eye out for a roller door for the workshop. Currently it has these big sliding doors and they're quite rusted out along the bottom. The tracks don't run very smoothly and they are just a big pain in the butt. And I would like to reclad the shed with corrugated iron or Colorbond steel. So it would be nice to have a proper operating roller door in there. So I picked this up off Facebook Marketplace. It's a proper industrial size, 4.5 metre wide by 3.6 high roller door with electric motor, all the wiring, equipment, switches, etc. So I'm pretty happy with that. It's a bit of a mission to go and collect it. Had to commandeer a friend to help me lift it onto the trailer and lift it off. It's got a few little marks around it, a couple of little dings here and there, but it was only $500 and I'd hate to imagine what a brand new one would cost. And it's quite usable. It'll be a while before I get to installing it, but now it's here. It's one of the items ticked off the list that I wanted to get to and replace these horrible things on the shed. I've just got finished working on the back door. If you watched the earlier videos fitting the doors in this door frame, there's a 25mm sort of gap because I had to pack this wall out with the door frame that I put in here. So I had to cut or rip down some of the old trim pieces, 25mm, and put little packer strips in around the whole door frame. So it's come up really well. Of course it all needs sanding still, but as you can see here, I had to chisel out a little bit down the bottom here, the sill plate. This will sit in here just like this, and the architraves go on. Same with the other side. So it sits in probably 2.5, 3mm. Well, it's got all that sorted. Now I've just got to get on to finishing sanding this back porch. I've done the toilet and, as mentioned earlier, trimmed down the edge of the window frame here with the plane, and I've cut up architrave to fit that, but it's more about me procrastinating sanding plaster because I hate it. But I'm running out of other things to do, so it's got to be done. Come back shortly and get some plaster sanded. A couple of days later, I've got the first window frame installed, puttied up, primed, come up reasonable, and I've done the door frame on the inside. This side was a little bit tricky to install this one because of the sliding pocket door. I had to screw this piece in on this side and be sure that the screws didn't come through into the door cavity. But working with the recycled, the older trim is not an easy task. Having to bog up old holes, sand it all back, prime it so the stain doesn't come through. But I'm getting there. I'll keep on going. As you can see, the window frames stick out from the walls about 10mm. So this window in here, got the electric plane out and planed it back so it's level with the walls. And I conceded and went to the hardware store and bought new moulding to do the architraves with. Trying to recycle the old stuff was more headache than it was worth. I did use the old architrave moulding for in here, in the toilet. But the amount of time involved in sanding it, priming it, filling all the holes, it's just so much easier to work with new stuff. But I managed to use recycled stuff for inside the toilet anyhow. I've got the plaster all sanded in the back porch area. Still got the laundry to go. And I've got a first coat of sealer in the toilet. It's all sanded. Plaster's all sealed. Come back shortly and I should have a coat of sealer on the back porch. It's got a little bit dark outside. I've had a pretty busy day today, well, last few days actually. Got all the architrave up. It's all been primed, gap filled, sanded. Got a coat of sealer on the back porch. One thing I'm not quite sure about is, do I run architrave or skirting board around the floor in the back porch here, or do I run 100mm of floor tile up the wall for skirting board? Still haven't decided on that yet. Gonna have to decide pretty quick though. It's all come up pretty well. I think that'll do it for this week. Please click like, share, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. Apparently you've got to click the notification bell too. YouTube's been pretty brutal lately. If you like what you see, you've hung around this long, please check out my other videos if you haven't already. And we'll see you next month.